Blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. So what about the term snowflakes? Joining us now to discuss, Scott Palley, author of Get It Together, Cultural and Practical Tips to be a Successful Adult. Scott, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Not bad. So tell us the state of the youth today.
I think it's just a new version of the same old things that have happened for decades or centuries. You know, young people always push the envelope, and it's just different in this generation because of the social media and the devices and things like that. But, you know, there's always something happening. You're always reading about folks that are older talking about what kids were like when they were growing up. So, you know, I think it's just a different version of the same kind of thing.
What do you think social media is good or bad for kids?
Well, I think there's certainly good things about it, and there's certainly a lot of bad things about it. I think that, you know, what happens is people get so involved. It's sort of like when few older people were growing up, when you sat in front of the television all day long and watched cartoons and you know, and movies, right? So you just sat on the couch and did nothing all day long, and you didn't socialize and you didn't do other things. So this is this generation's version of sitting on the couch watching TV all day long. So they play video games, they look at social media, they don't socialize that much. And what's really, I think, bad, my opinion is that whenever you see things on social media, you see the best of everything, mostly. And so anybody that's not having a great day looks at that and they think, well, why aren't I having a good day? And it makes them depressed. I would guess offhand that it's just from judging from what my kids experience, it's just sad when they see their friends not including them, or they're having a better time, or they're getting to do something more fun, or they look better because they doctored their pictures. And all these kind of things, it creates an artificial environment that when you're really young, you really don't know how to filter that out and realize those things, and that comes with age. So you end up putting a tool in someone's hand that probably ought to use it when they're older, but it's available to them when they're younger. And it just seems like there's no way around having bad things occur because of that.
Well, also, and we've heard of stories about, you know, people being bullied on social media. Of course, for some of us curmudgeons, it's tough to really put a lot of stock into somebody on a computer saying you're a bad person, but that does have an impact on kids.
I think it has an impact on anybody. I mean, nobody likes to be picked on, and nobody likes to have things bad said about them. I mean, I personally have never tried to be liked by anybody. I don't care. And it's so I don't go around trying to do things that don't make people like me, but I haven't really gone about trying to do that. And what I taught my kids is, which was partially successful, but is actually very successful now that they're a little older, is use social media as a tool. Don't use it as your life. Don't make it the subject of your life, the focus of your life. Use it as a tool. Keep in touch with people. Schedule things. You know, find out about new things that you didn't know about, but don't use it in a way that's going to be damaging to you. And one of the things in the book that I've got, the very first section, after it defines what success means, the second page deals with mentors. And a lot of times, instead of young people looking at social media for their advice, they should reach out to older people that have been there, done that can help them through difficult times.
Right, the value of having a conversation instead of a texting conversation.
That's right. And, you know, it's difficult. Some of them can't, they just not used to doing it. So when it comes to, for example, looking for a job, they're trying to do everything online, but a lot of jobs are found by who you know, who your friends know, who your parents know, who your business associates know, who your teachers know. And unless you actually go and talk to them and say, this is what I'd like to do, what advice could you give me that would allow me to head in that direction, it saves all kinds of grief and difficulty if they use resources that they may not be accustomed to using. So part of what I've done in there is I've created exercises to allow them to practice trying to do that so they're more successful with it.
So the purpose of the book is helping a lot of folks with life skills that maybe in the past parents or grandparents imparted to us that aren't taught in school.
That's right. And a lot of it has to do with the reason I wrote it is I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've retired a couple of times, and the last time I thought, well, I don't really need to go make more money at this point. I'd rather do something to give back. And you look at all the things in the news and the terrible way people communicate with each other and the way folks are unprepared and the huge amount of debt they're in and the protests and all these things that are going on. And I keep thinking there's got to be a solution to this. And my thought was to write this book, which has a lot of really useful advice in it, get people oriented to using mentors, and then hopefully we can create a change in the country that would benefit everybody. Because that's the kind of society you want. You want a society that reaches out to people, that talks to each other carefully and examines other viewpoints that aren't going to be offended so easily every time someone says something that they don't agree with, and understand where they're coming from before you react. And also there are all kinds of things about social media about moderation, and just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. And there's just lots of things like that in there, plus practical stuff like how to open a bank account and what's on your paycheck and how to file your taxes and how to set up your kitchen, how to buy a car, how to rent an apartment, how to get a roommate. So there's a lot of practical things too, but the key thing is how do you be the right kind of person so that in the end, all these opportunities that are available to everybody out there are available to them too. And they're not closed off because they do dumb things that they could avoid if they just talked to a mentor or they just read my book, hopefully.
Indeed. As we move along here, I have to ask you a question. I'm sure you write about it in your book, but, as far as getting it together, what advice would you give people when they're going in on a job interview?
Well, I have a big section on that. One of the companies, I started 3 technology staffing companies, and so I've interviewed thousands of people and helped thousands of people find jobs over those years. So I have quite a bit of practical experience with that. And the key thing is to make sure you're prepared. You know a lot about the company. You've prepared yourself, how you appear, how you conduct yourself, how you shake hands. And then really importantly is how do you answer questions and how do you ask questions in an intelligent way so that the interview is easier for you. I call it in the book, I call it offensive versus defensive interviewing. Defensive interviewing is when you're waiting on questions to be asked of you. Offensive interviewing is when you know what you want to talk to a company about, that they need to know about you, and while you're answering the questions, which are done in a very organized and formulaic manner, you're actually sharing information about you so that a company doesn't have to ask the dreaded, what are your strengths or what are your weaknesses? So it makes the interview a lot easier because you're prepared properly.
So in other words, you're almost interviewing them with your talking points.
It should be a conversation. It shouldn't be one of the things that it has to do with the same thing goes on with mentors. A lot of people don't know to ask people for help because they don't think anybody wants to help them. I can tell you that is not true. Any successful person that I've ever met, including myself, has never stopped to help somebody that asked for help. Everybody wants to help somebody else. People like doing that. And the same thing goes for interviews. When you interview, it should be a conversation. So in other words, when the person asks you the question, instead of just saying yes or no, yes, I did that, no, I didn't, you have to say, yes, I did that at this particular company. Here are my responsibilities, and this shows that that I'm organized, that I pay attention to detail. And by the way, that company was in a startup mode, and we used to work a lot of hours, and I don't mind working hard. So when you did that, I just gave you 3 strengths that I would have as an example that I added to the answer so that the person could actually share what they're like with that employer. It gives them an edge up on other people that interview that don't have those tips.
Get it together. Scott Pally joining us, KIDO Talk Radio. Final question. Many folks that are baby boomers or Gen Xers appear to be frustrated with the millennials who, are approaching their late 30s, early 40s right now, and they say this generation doesn't want to work. Scott, do you buy that?
I think there are always people that don't want to work. I mean, who wants to work if you can have it all without working? You know, I just think that I really don't like putting labels on people. You know, that everybody's this way or everybody's that way. I think that the hard part about it is sometimes people see things and they think I can have that too, and nobody's ever told them that in order to have that, whatever it might be, you might have to work really hard, because the way you see it in media, everything looks easy. I have that in the book about how to have, about these celebrities that have kids and they don't have husbands, for example, or wives, and they have kids, and it makes it look like it's no big deal, but they have tons of money and they can hire people to help them. When you're a single parent and you have to work all day to pay your bills, how do you have an easy time of having a child and spending the time you want to with them and do everything else? It's hard. So when you see an alien sort of, or an artificial view of things, sometimes reality has to hit you before you realize that. And I've had millennials work for me and they seem fine. And I've had some that didn't care. And I think that's been that way forever. Honestly, I would say that it's just a matter of people deciding what they want, and when they see that they can't get it without working, eventually they'll come around to it.
Scott Pally, we appreciate you, and thank you for joining us. Get It Together, available on Amazon, bookstores throughout the country. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too. All right. There you have some life tips here at KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up next, Congressman Labrador, Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And Kevin Miller in the morning at KIDO Talk Radio. Phone number is 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Don't forget, coming up this week, we'll be at College of Western Idaho. Looking forward to promoting our school, securing our future, thanks to our friends at CapEd Credit Union, Great Power Learning, and Team Mazda Subaru. Coming up, Congressman Labrador will join us. We'll get his thoughts on last night's big debate and take your calls as well. If you missed it, here is, some of the panel talking about the state of marriage.
Congressman Labrador, you and your opponents in your campaign messaging have been strongly opposed to same-sex marriage. Yet same-sex marriage is legal in Idaho right now. And according to the State Vital Statistics Bureau, more than 1,000 Idaho couples, same-sex couples, had legally married in Idaho through the end of 2016. And that's not counting any who then got married in 2017 or now in 2018. In your opposition to same-sex marriage, would you want to annul all those marriages of those existing Idaho couples?
I would not, and I don't think the Constitution would allow that. But I would get rid of same-sex marriage in the state of Idaho.
And there you have it from Congressman Labrador last night. I wish Betsy would just kind of get to the question. You don't need to have this prologue. Just get to the question. Speaking of which, Congressman Labrador joins us now. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
A very thought-provoking debate last night. As we take a look at how the campaign is rolling, were you satisfied with the issues that were asked there, or would you have liked to have seen perhaps more other questions, particular to the state of Idaho, sir?
I thought it was a good debate. I thought they had some good questions. I wish we would talk a little bit more about policy, especially a couple of the issues that were brought up were not necessary to be discussed. However, I thought overall it was a good debate. We felt really good about how I performed. I think I was able to point out clearly that I'm the only true conservative in the race that has a record to back it up. That it's easy to stand on the stage, as you know, and just spout a bunch of conservative ideas. It's much different to actually show that you have a consistent conservative record of proven leadership, and I think I was able to show that last night.
One thing that opponents and fans of you will say that you don't back down from anything. I was wondering, showing my own bias here, why they didn't have issues that you're hit with on the trail, and I know they couldn't get everything in. Particularly an issue that you've talked about, you've championed about immigration. They really didn't touch on immigration last night.
I was surprised surprised by that because especially one of my opponents continues to lie about my immigration record, and I wanted to have an opportunity to discuss that. I wish they would have asked a question about it. I said a couple of things about it, but that was definitely, you're right, that's definitely an issue that should have been brought up that was not brought up.
Well, Congressman Labrador, would you like to expand on this? Because, again, a lot of people are tuning in. A lot of people, not a lot of people watched that debate, sadly, last night. Let's hope they tune in to others. But your thoughts on immigration and your record when it comes to fighting for American sovereignty, sir.
Absolutely. As you know, I have the bill that President Trump has actually endorsed, which is the Secure America Act. And it does everything that President Trump wants to do. It closes the border. It builds a wall. It allows interior enforcement. It allows for border enforcement. It adds troops. It adds people to the security of the United States. But it also deals with this population that is here, the DACA population, and it deals with ag immigration reform. So it does a lot of things that people have been asking for, people need. What's been fascinating in this race is that people who have never worked on immigration reform, I have two opponents who have never really stood up for closing the border, for doing something on immigration reform. And one of them has spent millions of dollars attacking and distorting my record. And I think my record is as strong as anybody's in the United States when it comes to immigration. That's one of the reasons that I think the president has supported our bill. And we have worked pretty hard to get it passed out of the House. We're still working. You still have a few moderate Republicans in the House that are not willing to stand up for enforcement in Congress. And we're trying to convince those people to sign on to the bill. But we have worked very hard. I am the chairman of the Judiciary Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security, and I'm proud of my record. I have done a lot, and the most important thing that I have done, Kevin, is I prevented the amnesty from passing. So a couple of years ago, I don't know if you remember, that John Boehner started talking about how we were going to pass some soft immigration reform. And it was me, along with a group of my conservative friends, who stood up in conference and told John Boehner that we would not allow him to pass an amnesty bill. And it's one of the reasons that he was kicked out of Congress, that we got rid of him in the House leadership, because he wanted to pass something that the U.S. Chamber of Commerce wants and the liberal groups want, but the American people do not want.
Congressman Labrador joining us here, his campaign for governor at KIDO Talk Radio. One issue that I thought, and I'm sure you've heard this as a congressman, you're hearing this on the trail, sir, the refugee situation here in Idaho. If elected, is there anything the governor can do about it?
Well, one of the things, I have a separate bill that is a refugee bill that would have allowed the governors to decide whether people come into their states or not. It would allow the governors and the local communities to make that determination. Because right now that determination is being made by an agency. It's not even an agency of the government, but it's an agency that decides where these refugees are being sent to. I have no problem, and you know this, I have no problem with the refugee program, that we have a refugee program, but I do think that local communities need to decide whether refugees come into their communities. And what these programs have been doing for too long is that they send most of the refugees to states like Idaho instead of sending them to comparable areas like New York and other areas. Sometimes we have more refugees coming into Idaho than go to New York or states like that. The other thing that my refugee bill would do is it would encourage the federal government to actually settle refugees in neighboring countries. So we would, instead of bringing them to the United States or letting them come all the way to the United States, you would have neighboring countries that are usually the same culture, the same language, and same experiences, to have some settlement camps in those areas. Instead of spending billions and billions of dollars to bring them here and to resettle them here, I think we would do a better job in the United States if we were helping them get resettled in neighboring countries that have similar cultures.
Now, and look, I don't want to hog the time. We've only got you for a short time, so I want to. You've got your biggest supporter, Cindy's going to talk to you in a second. But it was funny. I loved how they were trying to lecture you last night on the Supreme Court. when it comes to marriage. That was fascinating.
That was fascinating. I always love how liberals, and most of the media is liberal, how liberals think that the Supreme Court actually gets to dictate what the final law of the land is. And it's not true. The Congress gets to decide. We can always overturn a bad Supreme Court precedent, and the states should be supreme in the decisions based that are not enumerated in the Constitution. There's nothing in the U.S. Constitution that refers to marriage. We should be making those decisions at the state level, and I think it was fascinating to be lectured at. But I'm used to it. I get it all the time, and that's one of the reasons I think I'm the most qualified to be governor. I'm willing to stand up to the media. I'm willing to stand up to special interest groups. I'm even willing to stand up to my own party when they do the wrong thing. That's what the people of Idaho are looking for. They're looking for a proven leader, somebody who will stand up for them, and I'm proud of my record.
Okay, here we go. Cindy in Caldwell for your candidate, Congressman Labrador. Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Kevin. It is an honor to speak with you and Representative Labrador. It is an honor to speak with you, sir. It was an honor to represent you with my little button on over at Desert 22, listening to the roar of those Harleys and talking to all the people over there about, that event was for suicide prevention, and it was an honor to nominate Kevin for an entry. I'll speak to him later about that. But, sir, I just want to say to you, you're very humble that you don't speak a lot about how you obviously caught the vision of our president, because I don't know if your opponents ever saw, what Hillary's America or Dinesh D'Souza's Obama 2016, what has happened to our America. But when you came out to support our president, I will tell you, sir, I just then decided way back then to support you. You have so many veterans, sir. I want you to know that. You have a man who supported you when you first ran in Idaho, a veteran. He would not even have back surgery until, he did all he could. He told his doctor, forget it. That same man told me in Albertsons, I can't make calls, Cindy. Well, he came over to a center, and after 2 hours with his wife supported. So I think you should speak more about, sir, I would hope you would speak up how you have done such a great job in supporting our veterans, that you had the back of our veterans as opposed to wasting a vote like your opponent did and could not even see the destruction that for 8 years was done to our military with changes of ROEs. So thank you, sir. Thank you. You have a lot of veterans that are on board with you, and you've done some great human interest. It's not even that. You've helped so many veterans.
Here I was criticizing Betsy Russell for the run-up to the question, Cindy, and that's 2 minutes right there. But
well, good. I'm just so proud of him for standing strong and representing our veterans that I could cry, Kevin. I really could, because the other candidate did not do that. Threw away a vote, and look what would happen. So please, Raul, let people know some of the things that you've done for our veterans.
Hey, Cindy, thank you for the call.
You're welcome.
Congressman, that'll have to be the last word. Your thoughts on Cindy's call?
Cindy, thank you so much. And Kevin, thank you for the work you do for the people of Idaho. You spend a lot of time doing volunteer work, and I appreciate that. I know the people of Idaho appreciate that. But we're proud of the work that we do in our congressional office. We help thousands and thousands of people in our office when they have issues with the VA, when they have issues with housing, and they come to our office. And the thing that makes me the happiest is when I meet somebody at Albertsons or at a restaurant or at a basketball game or any place in Idaho, and they thank me for the work that our office has done. We go above and beyond. I think our office gives the best constituent services, and I think that's what the people of Idaho will see from a Governor Labrador, somebody who looks out for them, who makes sure that they can receive proper treatment from the government, and that will stand up for them in every step of the way. And I'm so grateful for the work that you do, Kevin, and your listeners.
Well, thank you, sir. We'll see you on the trail, and safe travels.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you, Congressman Labrador, joining us here. We'll get your thoughts next, and John Decker from Washington. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's get you to work safely and on. And let's find out what's happening in your world. Good morning, Maggie. And KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Thank you, Ray Amaya, for that one. We appreciate it. Coming up, one senator actually wants to legalize marijuana. Could we see that at the federal level?
The reality is that the state constitution is against same-sex marriage. The people of Idaho decided many years ago that they wanted traditional marriage to be protected in the state. My job as the governor of the state of Idaho will be to protect not just the U.S. Constitution, but the state constitution. The second thing is that I think marriage is an issue that should be decided by the states, not by the U.S. Supreme Court.
There we have it, Congressman Labrador last night from Idaho Debates. Let's go to Bob in Boise with Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Kevin. I keep hearing this Labrador this and Labrador that, and patting him on the back here. Nobody ever seems to stand up. He tells about what he did to get Boehner out of there. When Boehner was up for a vote in the House, he was right up front voting for Boehner. When our president was just flat out going outside the Constitution, he never once stood up and did what he was supposed to do, representing us and representing the Constitution. He just, he talks a good talk, but look at his 7-8 years back there. He doesn't do a darn thing as far as protecting our Constitution, and I think to be a governor would be a big mistake. Thank you.
Okay, Bob, thank you very much. Let's go to Nate in Caldwell with Kevin Miller at KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Nate.
Hey, good morning, sir. How are you?
Living the dream, brother.
Good. I was hoping to be able to catch Congressman Labrador while he was still on, but I'll ask this of you anyhow. If you could get a commitment from Congressman Labrador that if he were to be elected governor, that he will continue to make a regular appearance on your show. So far, there hasn't been a single candidate that I've heard that has made that commitment yet. And I think that's important because so far you're the only talk show in Idaho that actually holds our elected candidates, our elected people in Idaho accountable for what they do.
Well, maybe that's why they don't come on.
I kind of agree there. It's interesting that Governor Otter will not make an appearance on the show.
Well, Governor Otter and his award-winning staff have chosen to try and marginalize this show and its audience, and we're honest about it. When he was in trouble in the primary, he was here. When he was in trouble in the general, he was here, and then we haven't seen him for 4 years.
Exactly, and that's what I'm afraid will happen with whoever becomes our next governor. And I mean, Congressman Labrador, same thing. As soon as he became our congressman, he disappeared on us. He wouldn't show up on the Kevin Miller Show.
I think you're holding me accountable now, Nate.
I don't want to put you in a tough spot, but anyhow.
No, and explain that, and not to make it too much about me. That was, and look, I've gotten over myself, and we're here to elect good people, and we're an open funnel, and we hope that people understand and appreciate that. That was more me than the congressman. We had some issues, and something, we've worked them out. And we've worked them out with everybody else except Governor Otter. And Nate, you're right to bring those things up. So I want to make sure that I'm fair. So that's full disclosure on that one, sir.
And I'm right there with you. You are very fair, and you give everybody an opportunity to speak their mind, and including anyone from the left who gets on and says they'll pick fights with you, that they want to meet with you in a parking lot somewhere. And good on you for that. But that's the one thing. If we could get a candidate who will commit and who will follow through with making a regular appearance on your show, that would be great. You will hold their feet to the fire in any instance where they start to deviate from any of their campaign promises or any of their conservative commitments.
You have my word on that. If elected, I will run, Nate. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
That's the point of it all, is to have folks on. And what we try to do is, and I know Terry's emailing me and stuff, if you have a question for these guys, please call. Thank you. I think I have a meeting coming up. Question these guys and gals. And we've made that commitment to get the contenders on. The Congressman Labrador today, Lieutenant Governor Brad Little tomorrow, Dr. Ahlquist the day after. And Ray, I apologize in advance. Probably we need to get Steve Pankey back on as well, not to be hypocrites. And Harley Brown will be on. We don't have a problem giving people a voice. If they're compelling, and if you were listening last hour, if you missed it, we had a guy on about climate change. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, the snooze alarm, the tune-out alarm is going. And then all of a sudden, boom, it was about chemtrails. And I thought, well, this is the tape we can send to George Norrie. 580-5436-580-KIDO. One more thought on last night's debate. If you missed it, this was really the big shot heard around the world.
Far, all three of you have accused the other two of lying about you or lying about your record. What is the biggest lie that has been told about you, and why is it a lie?
The biggest lie? Oh, that's probably pretty easy, just from the last couple of weeks. I was into my barber this last week getting ready for this debate, and they said, why does Brad Little keep telling you you're going to raise taxes on haircuts? He was very upset with me. I think it's been proven a couple of times by KTVB that I never said that. But probably the most disturbing was I was driving my 15-year-old daughter to school a couple weeks ago, and she pulled up an ad that was being run by one of my opponents with me dressed in a Ku Klux Klan outfit, saying that I was a dirty, filthy racist. So, these are hard. I know primary elections are hard. They're tough. They've been tough on me and our family. I think it's worth it. And I believe that the people of Idaho, there are people sitting home right now that are worried about health care. They're worried about education. They're worried about their jobs. We got a third of Idaho living in poverty or paycheck to paycheck. So what I hope we do tonight is talk about those issues. And I think the rest of this is going to continue to go back and forth. The good news for everyone out there, it's just 3 more weeks of it.
Hey, Betsy, that ad was not put up by one of his opponents. Just set the record straight.
So what is the record? Who put up that ad?
Okay, can I answer that? Because he's talking about one of my supporters, and once again, Tommy Ahlquist is lying about my record. That was one of my supporters who put up a blog. He's a blogger, and he doesn't like some of the things that Tommy Ahlquist has done. It had nothing to do with my campaign. It had nothing to do with even my PAC.
Are you willing to disavow it?
I did. I actually asked, I had my campaign, see, unlike Tommy Ahlquist, I actually asked the gentleman to take down the picture because I found the picture offensive. And if you go to his blog right now, you will find that the picture is not there. That's actually a kind of integrity that I bring to this race. I don't hide behind rules and try to say that, oh, I can't do anything about that. Tommy Ahlquist's PAC, which has been funded by his father and many of his friends, has lied about me again and again and again. He has been proven to lie about me again and again and again, and not once has he disavowed it. My PAC had nothing to do with it. My campaign had nothing to do with that blog. And I actually asked him to take down that picture because I found it to be offensive. He has lied about my record on immigration. He has lied about my record on voting with President Trump. And he does it again and again. And I think they have brought a level of campaigning that has never existed in Idaho. Actually, I have seen it one time, and it was from the Democrats. Walt Minnick used the same type of campaign tactics that he does, and it's because he has associated his entire life with the Democrats here in Boise. And I
want to give Dr. Ahlquist a we'll get to you in a second, Lieutenant Governor Little, but I want to give Dr. Ahlquist a chance to respond specifically to that.
Well, specifically, I'd say, the voters of Idaho are going to make this decision. And if they think it's only our campaign doing this, just look at the ads that are out there.
So Congressman Labrador just disavowed something put out by one of his supporters. Are you willing to do the same? Distance yourself from...
Well, there's the audition for Meet the Press. 580-5436-580-KIDO. Negative campaigning, or is it truth-telling, number one? And number two, I don't want this debate to end. I want this to keep going. Don't you? Don't you want this to keep going? I mean, this is a big issue. I love how everybody's getting all excited last night. Well, the three of us, let's see, it was, Hank was playing chess. Liberty Linda, I think she watched it. Tea Party Bob and myself. But this is, you can get it on my personal Facebook page or Kevin Miller Show Facebook page. Idaho Public Television putting this on. And like I said, why don't they just talk normal? Just ask legitimate questions. hey, are you down with the refugees? Do you believe in the Obama refugee program? Should we build a wall so the Californians can't come in? These are questions that people have the right to know, right? The answer to. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio.
But are you willing to rule it out?
Willing
Signing a bill that would punish women with imprisonment or prosecution for getting an abortion. Are you willing to rule it out?
Again, I do not think that bill and the hypothetical that was given again will make it to my desk.
But it's not a hypothetical. It's been proposed by a lawmaker in Idaho in the recent past.
Again,
are you willing to rule it out? Yes or no?
Again, I do not think that bill is going.
If it does, if it's not a hypothetical, if it ends up on your desk.
Your hypothetical is just on top of a hypothetical. What I'm telling you
this is all a hypothetical. You ending up in the governor's office is a hypothetical. So hypothetically, if you're there, will you sign the bill?
Melissa?
The best and brightest of the Idaho Press Club. There we have it right there. Again, act like you've been there before. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. What do we have coming up? Thank You Thursdays. That's right. Thank you. Boise Music Festival tickets, family 4-packs. We'll be giving those away twice per hour on Thursdays from the College of Western Idaho. But you don't have to be there. Just listen to us. More details at KIDOTalkRadio.com. We go to Terry, formerly of State College, Pennsylvania, on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Kevin. Oh, my. Well, the Lord says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. It is now a proven fact that Mr. Alquist is a liar, and you know that I favored him. So I have the right to say that. He's a proven liar, and he is, in fact, supporting lies by not distancing himself from them and saying, hey, that's wrong. So anybody that votes for Alquist and you call yourself a Christian, and you know that he's now a proven liar, well, you figure out the rest.
Now, that's a huge charge. You're going to have to substantiate that, because the last time we had him on, you were mad at him that he didn't return your phone call.
Well, I don't know that I was angry with him. I was disappointed in the fact that he cannot. Here's a man, okay, you make 2 calls, and somebody doesn't call up and say we're too busy. It doesn't anything. They don't call back. Is he going to be available as our governor? I have great doubts on anybody else. So, Mr. Alquist, and now that we're looking at the law, I don't care if it's his father, I don't care if it's his campaign, I don't care who it is, but when you start lying about the other candidates, you're not in the running morally. Sorry. And morality comes long before everything else. What can I say?
I got to tell you, I thought that ad was kind of funny when they say, a lot of times people don't use the word daddy, so.
Yeah, right. Well, we know who's putting his ads together for him, and he's approving them. Hello. So once again, if you vote for a liar, I don't know how you can look in the mirror. He's now a proven liar. And it's a shame. It's a real shame, because I think that he has a lot of strength that could have been utilized for the sake of Idaho. But at this point, who can trust him?
So you're not buying what he said, that there's no coordination between the PAC and his campaign.
Oh, and he knows nothing about it? Well, include that. Come on, Kevin. Another lie. He's already proven himself. And anybody that sleeps with the libs lives with the libs. What can I say? He's made himself clear on that, even though he's really trying to distance himself from that to a degree. What do you think he's spending all the time up in Coeur d'Alene for? Where are all the libs at? Hello.
Well, you could say that about President Trump.
President Trump was actually pretty darn clear about any allegations. He was
I'm talking, when he went after Ted Cruz's dad and, had dinner with the Clintons.
And he hobnobbed with the wealthy. He hobnobbed with the influential. He hobnobbed with everyone. He is an international developer. And that is the way that works. And you and I both know that, whether we like it or not, that is the way it is. To get things done, you need to influence people. Now, in what fashion did he influence them? I don't know. In what fashion was he influenced?
Now, why isn't that the same for Tommy Alquist then?
I think Tommy Alquist is much closer to home, right here in our home, right here where we sleep, right here where we raise our children, right here where we're responsible citizens to uphold our own republic. And he's not putting it out there. He's not putting it out there honestly. And I think he calls himself a man of God. Well, I'd like to know which God he worships, and in fact, if he's willing to allow the lies to continue, he should shut them down. And here's the last question.
Terry, you hear that? It's time for you to shut down.
Okay, big boy.
See you, Terry. Bye-bye. Good morning. Ray and Maya, thank you. Everyone else, God bless and keep the faith.